When Muneva Ömez was just 14 years old, she was forced to become a child bride. It should have been her sister, but when the groom suspected her of no longer being a virgin, he took her back to her family and insisted on marrying young Muneva instead.
In the first night in the bedroom, I kept thinking, what if the same thing happens to me as to my sister? I couldn't move. They told me I would get used to it, to what happened to me. But how could I ever get used to that?
She comes from the city of Van on the Turkish-Iraqi border. Among the poorest regions in Turkey, almost 1 in 2 girls are married before they turn 18. A third don't meet their future husbands until the wedding. In instances where the girl's age prevents a civil marriage, it is generally possible to find a cleric willing to perform the ceremony, although theoretically it could land them in prison for 6 months. The chief cleric of Van, the Mufti, denies marrying off any children. But he also says age is not that relevant.
Children in colder parts of the world don't develop as quickly as those in warmer regions. If there is any doubt, we ask for a medical certificate, which tells us whether a girl is mature enough to marry.
Most visitors to this mother and child daycare center in Van were child brides. They come here to get advice from social workers and doctors in the education of their own children. Workers here are keen to prevent history repeating itself.
When they marry young, they're minors and they're frightened. After the wedding, they think their lives belong to their husbands, and they don't dare to take a single step without them. But with a little explanation and education, they discover their individuality and understand that they have rights. And then they're willing to protect their own girls from men.
It took a long time for Muneva to find some kind of liberation. She went back to school and is now raising 3 children on her own. The man she was married to is still her husband, but now lives in Western Turkey. She now works with an organization that speaks out against forced marriage. It gives her hope to see the issue discussed publicly.
There's a television series called Little Bride about a girl who is married at the same age and in the same way I was. It always reminds me of what happened to me.
The TV show airs on a private Turkish channel during prime time on Sundays. The story revolves around 13-year-old Zehra, who is torn from her childhood and forced to marry an older man. So far, it's been on for 30 episodes. The protagonist is played by an 11-year-old schoolgirl from Istanbul who had no prior awareness that there are places in Turkey where girls her age are forced to marry. Her real life and screen life are worlds apart.
The most difficult thing so far was Zehra's marriage. It was not easy to act that, and I felt really uncomfortable. Pretty much everyone finds it bad when girls marry so early. Hopefully the series will help put a stop to it.
Of the 70 or so series currently being screened on Turkish television, Little Bride is the 5th most watched. In the latest episode, the child bride's in-laws are summoned by the police, but they claim the child is much older than she really is. In the real world, many adults forge their daughters' birth certificates in order to be able to marry them off more quickly. It is such realities that women's organizations are working to highlight. When an exhibition about minors forced into marriage is staged in Van, it is a magnet for teachers and their pupils. The girls know what it's all about.
When a girl of my age is seen with a boy, she's sometimes taken out of school and married off. But my family's not like that. They want me to finish school.
Yani böyle. Başka söyleyecek bir şeyim yok.
Müneva Ülmez is also at the exhibition. Her own marriage was a nightmare. But in this deeply religious region, remarrying, even for love, is not allowed because a child bride remains a child bride for life.